Okay, so what I want to try now is I want to show you how to do kind of a little bit of a curved line cutout, maybe around the glasses or just in a kind of curved line. So a lot of you showed off some collages that had that. So let's start first with I'm going to do just a very rough selection. So what I'm going to try first, I'm going to press this select subject button up here. What this is going to do is it's going to let Photoshop try to figure out what it is that I think I want. Now, I didn't try that on the Cameo version because I think it may make it crash, but you can give it a shot. On here, once again, with keyboard shortcuts, usually the options are right up here. So if I'm trying to add or subtract using this tool, you can do that. I'm going to say what the keyboard shortcuts are, but remember with Cameo, it has issues with not letting you do that. So what I'm doing is I'm pressing the Alt key on the keyboard. And then what I can do is I can switch to the lasso and kind of zoom in. There's a picture of my van. Oh, hey, look, there I am. This is a picture of me and my wife before we were married, getting our marriage license out in Santee because the main office downtown had been shut down because of the protests that were going on. So we had to drive out to Santee to get our marriage license. Not my favorite place to go, but it was nice to get out of the house, but it was actually, yeah. Anyways, now I'm just babbling. All right. So let me zoom out there. So now the problem is with something like this, if I just mask that, see how choppy the edges and stuff are? That's going to be tricky to clean up later, but I'm not going to worry about that for now. What I'm really going to do is I'm just going to take this and I'm going to move this over into the collage. Now the photo is much larger, so I'm going to shrink this down. So all I did was I pressed Control T, or you can do free transform, edit and free transform. And then I'm holding down the Alt and the Shift key just because it's a shortcut, but you can just grab one of the sides. I forgot, with your version, you don't need to hold down the Shift key. If you do, it's going to end up stretching the thing out. So I'm going to shrink this down, and I'm going to flip it the other way. All right. I'm going to hide these other things. I don't really want those on there. That was just my test one. So now I can kind of see these edges and stuff are pretty chunky, but I'm not going to worry about that for now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play around with this. Now, this you tried to do with the LeBron James, and the pin tool is definitely tricky. We're going to learn more about it, but the basic idea with the pin tool is if you click once, that's going to let you draw a straight line. Now, the reason that that's useful is let's go ahead and do a straight line, and we'll change this in a second, right across your face. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to come up. I'm going to come back to the beginning, and the little circle pops up. I can right click and I can go to make selection. What that does is it brings up this little dialog box, and I can click OK, and it now turned that into a selection, so that now on this mask layer, I can actually fill it with black, or I can use a paintbrush and do that, but I'm going to fill this with black. And now there's a perfectly straight cut. So some of you had asked how you did the straight line. That could be one way, using the pen tool. Another way, if you want it to be a perfectly straight line, so I'm going to show you a couple different ways of doing it. Let me undo. There we go. And let me get rid of that shape. You could go in with the polygonal lasso. That's this one. And if you hold down the Shift key, it will put it in 45-degree angles. And this part doesn't really matter because I'm just trying to cut straight across where the glasses are. And then I could come in here, fill it with black. I pressed Alt Backspace because that's the foreground color. You could use the paint bucket, or you could take the paintbrush and paint across there. That's another way to do it. Then another way would be just taking the regular lasso if you wanted to do more of a wavy line. But the problem with that one is most people don't really have a smooth stroke when it comes to applying that particular one, especially if you're not using a mouse, which if you're doing any major editing in Photoshop, I would recommend. A mouse is going to give you much more fine-tuned control. But that's another way to do it. So you'd use the lasso if you want it to be a little bit more free form. And then you just fill it with black and that piece goes. Or you can start to play around with the pin tool. So with the pin tool, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to path. And what I want to do is I want to click, and when I click and hold, it's going to make an arc. So there's that little circle. But the further out I go, the next time I click, it's going to want to act like a magnet, pulling that line towards that curve. So this is not the easiest tool to work with. But if you click and pull, then you come down and click somewhere else and pull, then you come up a little ways further and pull, and then come up around. That part doesn't matter. Then you return back to the beginning anchor point. It comes up with a circle. Now, if you right click on it, you can do to make selection, and it makes that selection. So now it's got that little bit more of a smooth curve going on there, right along there. And I can use the arrow key if I switch to the move tool right here. I can use the arrow key to move it up and down, although I shouldn't when it's on the mask. And then actually, let's just do that. We'll just fill it with black, or I'll take the paintbrush, fill it with black, or use my keyboard shortcut that did Alt backspace or Option backspace. And then you've got that clean edge right there. I think it's nice with something like that is you would have the ability to do the same thing. I really like the pin tool, but I fully recognize it's one of the trickier tools to work with until you get used to it. And then once you get used to it, it is amazing. So what I'm going to do is curve this off so it's not that straight line. I'm going to right click, make selection, fill it with black. Now I've got that little curved edge. And then if I really wanted to clean up this little part, so I didn't try to do all of her hair, but if I wanted to clean up that little part of the edge, actually, I'd like to curve that off just a little bit. I'd make a selection, go to the mask, fill it in. Cool. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here and I'm going to press Control and select the mask. And then if I switch back to one of these selection tools, like the lasso or the quick selection, there's this button right here that says Selected Mask. And then, much like I showed, that noise is annoying. Much like I showed you in the hair video, I'm going to do the same thing here. So I'm going to do a smart radius. And I'm going to use that brush to refine the edge. And it didn't grab everything right, so I'm going to press the Alt key to subtract some of that. So the thing is, with most of these selection methods, you're not looking like, I mean, I've kind of spoiled you a little bit with some of the tutorials because I've given you files that are really easy to select. But you're going to find when you do your own, it's so much trickier. But it's really cool to learn how to do it. Just don't be aware. You're going to be frustrated every once in a while. All right, so right there, I'm going to go to Selection, and I'm going to go to Layer Mask, and I'm going to go to OK. And what that did is it got rid of the majority of the edge that was there. Yeah, I'm really not digging that curve, so I'm going to go back in, grab the pin. I know I said I was going to do this fast, but I'm anal retentive about stuff, and so going to come down. Make selection. Right, a little bit better. All right, so that would be how you could potentially get the edge, either using the polygonal lasso, using the regular lasso, or using the pin. Now I'm going to make it look easier than it may be for you the first couple times you're doing it, but try it out, and then when you struggle in any area, call me in the room, and I'll help you out with whatever you need. Once again, if you want to apply the setting, not that this is going to be the best one ever, But let me take this. I'm going to put her behind this guy. So let's put him back behind there. And if I wanted to apply that same sticker effect that I had on everything else, I can just copy that layer style, come to this one, and paste a layer style. Don't know why it's got that top funky edge. That's really crusty. Let's go inside of here. It's because I left a little bit of white space over there. So if that does end up happening on yours, you can go to the mask and I can help you figure out how to get rid of some of those additional pieces that may be there. I also didn't change it. That's why I didn't change it to the smart object, which is going to give me a lot more flexibility. So not really digging that effect. Not really what I'm going to look for with yours. But you can give it a shot. If you end up running into something like that, let me know and I'll help you out with it.